Okay, welcome to part 1 of this tutorial. In this video we are going to basically start creating the gallery script. One thing I didn't mention in the previous video is that the reason this is just done as one file, because I mean in terms of like best practice, it makes sense to separate the thumbnail generation code into a separate file, but just to make it more maintainable later on. The reason we're not doing that is because the whole point of this is that it's one index.php page that you can upload with images and it'll create a gallery. So just for functionality this has to be as one script. It's quite short. I mean, the entire file will only end up being 94 lines, so it's not very long, so you should be able to maintain it later on if you need to change anything, that is. The version on my website is a little bit longer, but it has a lot more features, there's more functionality there. Okay, so because this is only one script, I am not really sure how this is going to work. I mean, I'm just going to sort of start coding it and see how far I get, and then if we need more than one part, I'm just going to carry on in the next part. So yeah. Okay, so in the code now, there is no PHP. I've removed all the PHP code from this. I've just left a page title and this line of CSS, which will make the images display like as they should. Obviously you're going to style the page a lot more. That makes sense. Okay, so if I go to our browser and just reload this page, you see it does absolutely nothing. We have this folder here which just has a load of images and this single script at the bottom. So what we're going to do is basically get started. So the first thing we want to do in this script is I'll explain the structure a bit. This section here is where the thumbnails are going to be output, the HTML code, and everything else is going to go up here pretty much, included mostly that's going to be the thumbnail generation. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so what we want to do is check if the thumbs folder exists, because if the first run of this script the thumbnails folder won't exist unless you've used it before in the same folder, so that wouldn't be the first run, so what I said was right. So what we're going to do is use the isDir function. What that does is returns true if the given parameter is a folder and false if not. So we're going to check if it's false. If it is false, we're going to make the folder. So we're going to do that now. We're going to do if isDir thumbs equals false. If it does equal false, we're going to make the folder with mkdir, mkdir, short for make dir, make directory. And then the first parameter for this is the folder we want to make, and the second one is not a string, a number that represents the permissions. It has to be 4 digits. The first one is 0, and I think that represents something sticky bit, something like that. You can look up if you feel the need. But basically we're going to set it to 0744, sorry. The reason I've chosen this string is because, okay, ignore the 0, these 3 digits here, 744, the 7 represents the current user, the one running this PHP script. The second number represents the group, which is probably going to be like all users, or all users with sort of a first letter of your username or something. The final one is everyone on the server. 4 means read-only access, 7 means full access, read, write and execute, which is necessary for folders for PHP. So that's why I've gone for 744. You might want to change that to something else. You might need to for your system. Just make sure you don't set these last two to anything that allows write access, because that would allow like other users to delete your files. Deleting is basically writing. Okay, so let's just save this file and reload our page. We don't get any errors. If I refresh this, you see we get this thumbs folder. It doesn't contain any items, but it's been created so we can use it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is get a list of all of the images. We're going to do that using the Glob function, Glob. I think we've met this before, but I'm going to explain it here because we're going to use a slightly more complicated than average pattern. Basically we're going to define a new variable called images and put that equal to the glob function, because what the glob function does is it returns an array files that match the pattern, files or folders that match the pattern you give it. Usually you end up just like using a star symbol, because that's like a wildcard. That star will match anything. So say if I just did like this, and then down here did print _ images, images. And if I reload the page now, you see we get this huge list of files. I'll just open and view the page source actually, because it'll be a little bit more clear. If I just scroll down this list of files, you see we have all the images, 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 and at the very bottom we have gallery.php, which we don't want, because that's not an image. We just want to ignore anything that might otherwise be in this folder, because there might be like files left over from another site. There might be HD access files, files that your server needs for something. It could be literally anything. So what we're going to do is sort of modify this to only match images. So basically what we want to do is change this bit here, because we want to match them with any name, and then after the dot we want to match a list of 4 file extensions, 4 common file extensions for images: JPEG, 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 even JPEG, JPEG, PNG, and GIF. The reason we have 2 for JPEG is because for some reason some programs use JPEG and some use JPG. Also some use uppercase and lowercase, but I'm just going to go with lowercase for now because that's what I use. I mean, you could add the uppercase versions as well, it wouldn't hurt too much. But okay, so quite a useful function of this glob matching system is that you can sort of supply a list of options in curly brackets, like so. So we're just going to, it's comma separated list, so we're going to do JPG, JPEG without the space, PNG, and GIF, like so. For this to work, like say if I just do it now, we'll get an empty array, like so. For this curly bracket syntax to work, which is a little bit more expensive checking for this, they have it so you have to specify that you need it. You have to specify a second parameter to this function, which is the glob brace constant. If I reload this page now, you see we get a list of all the images, and if you just look at the last element, the gallery.php has been removed, and whatever other files in there that might have been in that folder will also not be included, as long as it, like any file, basically what this does is gets all the files that have one of these 4 extensions. There are some other sort of nice matching things that glob can do. So go to php.net/glob and it will tell you all about it. Okay, so now that we have our list of images, we want to loop over that list. For each image we need to check if the file exists. You know, the thumbnail file exists, the thumbnail exists, and if it does, we want to show the thumbnail directly. If it doesn't, we want to show the the image with a source attribute linking to the PHP script we're using at the moment. So I'm going to do that now. We're just going to do a quick for each loop, for each images as image. And in here we're going to do if. I'm going to check if the file exists using the file exists function. If it does, I'm going to do something else, I'm going to do something else. So the file that we want to check for existence, check for the existence of, is current directory thumbs/image, because we're going to be saving the images with the exact same name in the thumbs folder. So that's why we're doing it like that. If that file does exist, we want to echo a HTML link. I'm going to type HTML in, a href equals something, close the a tag, and then here we want image source equals something, and alt equals to something else, close off the image tag. The alt tag that we're going to supply is just going to be the image name, because I can't think of anything better. And the source, when the file does exist, is just going to be thumbs/image, like so. And I'm just going to quickly copy this, because it's basically the same as what we output in the else block, other than a slightly changed this bit. Instead of outputting thumbs/image, we are going to output $image equals. What that will do is it will link to, no, it won't link, it'll set the source to, as I demonstrated in the first part, it'll set it to, like, it'll set the source attribute of the image to something like, well, all these ones you can see here, like that, for example. Image image equals image name. So then we can use that image name at the top of this script to generate the thumbnail, and then redirect the user to the actual thumbnail it generated. So I reload our page now. Files exists. Typos. Reload a page again. Pretend that didn't happen. If you get a big list of broken images because, well, if you just view the image, you see we get the same output again because we haven't coded for the thumbnail generation, but we have this $image thing in the variable in the URL. So yeah, what we're going to do now is create the code that generates the thumbnails. This is the main part of the tutorial, so it's going to be pretty long, so try and keep up. Okay, so what we want to do is check if the image get variable is there, if it's set. So we're going to use if is set get image, and if that is set, we just want to do some thumbnail generation. Make thumbnail. That's probably wrong, but never mind. And then once we've made the thumbnail, we want to redirect to that thumbnail, which we'll do at the end of the thumbnail generation. And then we want to kill the script because we don't want to also process all this code after a header. Basically, same rule applies. So I'll just reload this now. You see we get nothing because we've killed the script there. Okay, so that is that. So what we want to do here is check if the image that we have supplied in the get variable exists. If it doesn't, we're just going to do nothing, because the only reason it wouldn't exist is if someone was trying to do some dodgy things to our site, so we're not going to give them any information. So yeah, that's what we're going to do now. So what we're going to do is use the file exists function again. Do if file exists get image, like so. If it does, we're going to do the thumbnail generation in here. One thing we do need to do is turn on ignore user abort. The ignore user abort function, without brackets in the middle of it, will tell PHP not to stop processing the current script if the user navigates away from the page or clicks stop. The reason we're doing this is because if they click stop sort of halfway through thumbnail generation, which they might do because remember how long it took to load the page, they might get bored and leave. We want PHP to finish processing the image that it's got up to. So yeah, that's why we're doing that. So it takes one parameter. True means do ignore user abort, false means don't, so we can select a true. And the other thing is that generating these thumbnails could take minutes if you have a ridiculous image size. So we're going to use set time limit, which sets the maximum execution time of the script. We're just going to set it to 120 seconds because everything should be done by 2 minutes. Okay, so what we've done so far is, well, I'll just remove this comment because we know what we're doing now. We have turned on ignore user abort and set the time limit higher. One other problem you might run into is a memory limit. If you have a huge image, then PHP needs a lot of memory to be able to process it. So one thing you can do is set the memory limit higher using any set. On my server I've got it set to 500 meg or something because I do a lot of silly PHP scripts. But just for this I'm going to show you memory limit. Some servers won't like you doing this, but let's just say for the purposes of this, try it. So yeah, that's how you would do that. So join me in the next part where we will we'll start the thumbnail generation code, and hopefully get most of the way through it. Okay, thank you for watching, and join me in the next part. Create the code that generates the thumbnails. This is the main part of the tutorial, so it's going to be pretty long, so try and keep up. Okay, so what we want to do is check if the image get variable is there, if it's set. So we're going to use if is set get image, and if that is set, we just want to do some thumbnail generation. Make thumbnail. That's probably wrong, but never mind. Then once we've made the thumbnail, we want to redirect to that thumbnail, which we'll do at the end of the thumbnail generation. And then we want to kill the script, because we don't want to also process all this code after a header. Basically, same rule applies. So I'll just reload this now. You see we get nothing because we've killed the script there. Okay, so that is that. So what we want to do here is check if the image that we have supplied in the get variable exists. If it doesn't, we're just going to do nothing, because the only reason it wouldn't exist is if someone was trying to do some dodgy things to our site, so we're not going to give them any information. So yeah, that's what we're going to do now. So what we're going to do is use the file exists function again. Do if file exists get img, like so. If it does, we're going to do the thumbnail generation in here. One thing we do need to do is turn on ignore user abort. The ignore user abort function, without brackets in the middle of it, will tell PHP not to stop processing the current script if the user navigates away from the page or clicks stop. The reason we're doing this is because if they click stop sort of halfway through thumbnail generation, which they might do because remember how long it took to load the page, they might get bored and leave. We want PHP to finish processing the image that it's got up to. So yeah, that's why we're doing that. So it takes one parameter. True means do ignore user abort, false means don't, so we can select a true. And the other thing is that generating these thumbnails could take minutes if you have a ridiculous image size. So we're going to use set time limit, which sets the maximum execution time of the script. We're just going to set it to 120 seconds because everything should be done by 2 minutes. Okay, so what we've done so far is, I'll just remove this comment because we know what we're doing now. We have turned off and we've turned on ignore user abort and set the time limit higher. One other problem you might run into is a memory limit. If you have a huge image, then PHP needs a lot of memory to be able to process it. So one thing you can do is set the memory limit higher using any set. On my server I've got it set to 500 meg or something because I do a lot of silly PHP scripts. But just for this I'm going to show you memory limit. Some servers won't like you doing this, but let's just say for the purposes of this, try it. So yeah, that's how you would do that. So join me in the next part where we'll start the thumbnail generation code and hopefully get most of the way through it. Okay, thank you for watching and join me in the next part. Hmm.